First Contact Protocol. Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the cool metal wall of the research station and closed her eyes. Around her, the most brilliant minds from 7 different species worked frantically at crystalline terminals, their various appendages dancing across holographic displays. The steady hum of the station's systems mixed with clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones as the alien crew communicated in their native languages. "Still nothing," announced Dr. Keening, the Sith-era researcher whose feathers shifted from deep blue to frustrated orange. Her bird-like head tilted as she examined the data streaming across her console. The artifact's signal patterns remain completely incomprehensible. My species has perfect recall of every frequency we've ever encountered, but this is entirely outside our database. Commander Zix's crystalline form chimed softly, his body shifting from clear to a troubled purple hue. When he spoke, his words resonated through the station's harmonic translation system. My people have analyzed the mathematical progressions within the signal. While we can identify 17 distinct numerical sequences, their purpose escapes us. Perhaps the engineering perspective will yield results. Engineer Thok looked up from where his 4 powerful arms manipulated 3 separate diagnostic tools simultaneously. The Vraxian's thick hide glistened with sweat as he worked. The technology is beyond anything in our databases. The materials alone shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics. Whatever civilization created this artifact was operating on principles we haven't discovered yet. Sarah opened her eyes and looked at the object floating in the center of the research chamber. It was roughly spherical, about the size of a basketball, with a surface that seemed to shift between metallic and organic textures. Spiraling patterns covered its surface, pulsing with soft light and rhythm with the mysterious signals it broadcasted into space. "How long have we been at this now?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. 14 standard cycles, Zix replied, his harmonic voice carrying notes of exhaustion. The Galactic Council grows impatient. They expect results from this joint research mission. Sarah nodded and walked closer to the artifact. The other researchers had been approaching the problem with their species' greatest strengths. The Sithara with their perfect memory and pattern recognition. The crystalline beings with their mathematical precision. The Vraxians with their engineering prowess. All logical approaches that should have worked. "What if we're thinking about this wrong?" Sarah said, more to herself than the others. Fox's mechanical translator caught her words anyway. "Explain your meaning, human." Sarah circled the floating artifact slowly. "We've been treating this like a technological puzzle. Mathematical sequences, engineering analysis, database comparisons. But what if it's not technology at all? The readings clearly indicate advanced artificial construction," Dr. Keening pointed out, her feathers now shifting to a skeptical yellow-green. "I'm not saying it isn't artificial," Sarah continued. "I'm saying maybe we're approaching it like a machine when we should be approaching it like—" She paused, searching for the right words. "Like a person." Commander Zix's form brightened slightly. "Elaborate." Sarah positioned herself directly in front of the artifact. "Every species here has been using their most advanced analytical tools. But humans, we're not the most advanced at anything. We're not the strongest, fastest, or smartest. What we are is adaptable. We're good at reading between the lines, at understanding things that don't make logical sense." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device that looked primitive compared to the alien technology surrounding them. It was a simple audio recorder, the kind human musicians use to capture melodies. "Sarah, what are you doing?" Thok asked, his translator struggling with the confusion in his voice. "I'm going to try something that might sound crazy," Sarah said, activating the recorder. "I'm going to talk to it." The alien researchers exchanged glances. Dr. Keening's feathers cycled through several colors before settling on patient green. Human cognitive patterns often appear irrational to other species, but they occasionally produce unexpected results. "Proceed." Sarah took a deep breath and began speaking directly to the artifact. "Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm from a planet called Earth, And I'm here with friends from many different worlds. We found you drifting in space, and we can tell you're trying to communicate something important. We want to help, but we need to understand what you're saying." The architect's form began shifting again, cycling through colors that suggested deep contemplation. Even if this were true, the network has been dormant for too long. The other keys have drifted from their positions. The pathways have decayed. But they can be restored, Sarah said, feeling the artifact's agreement through her connection to it. The keys remember their original positions. They can guide us to them. But it has to be done cooperatively. Your ships, our adaptability, the Galactic Council's resources. Dr. Keening's feathers shifted to hopeful yellow as she understood what Sarah was proposing. A joint operation. Humans as interfaces, architects providing technical knowledge, and the various galactic species contributing their specialized abilities. The architect was silent for long moments, its form cycling through complex patterns. Finally, it spoke. "You claim the darkness still approaches. What proof do you offer?" Sarah closed her eyes and focused on the artifact's message. Images flowed through her mind. Vast regions of space where stars were going dark, not from natural stellar death, but from something that consumed light itself. "It's not a thing," she said, opening her eyes with sudden terror. "It's a force, a wave of entropy that unravels the fabric of space itself. It's already begun at the galaxy's edge. You have maybe 50 standard years before it reaches the core systems." The architect's image wavered. "The entropy wave. We thought we had escaped it by ascending beyond physical form." "You can't escape it," Sarah said, "but you can evacuate populations ahead of it. The network can move entire civilizations to safe harbor in neighboring galaxies, but only if we work together." Engineer Thok looked up from his console, his 4 arms moving in excitement. The power requirements alone would be staggering. It would require the energy output of multiple star systems. The network was designed to channel stellar energy, the architect admitted. But the coordination required. Billions of beings working in perfect harmony. "Humans are good at organizing chaos," Sarah said with a slight smile. "It's one of our few advantages." Commander Zix's crystalline form brightened. The Galactic Council could coordinate the operation, each species contributing their strengths. The Cythera providing logistical analysis, Vraxians handling engineering, crystalline beings managing energy flows, and humans serving as interfaces with the network, Sarah added. "We'll need to train others like me, people who can communicate with the keys and coordinate the activation sequence." The artifact in Sarah's hands pulsed with approval, its message clear. This plan could work. The architect's image finally stabilized into something resembling acceptance. "Very well. We will share the technical specifications for the network. But understand this. The task before us will require unprecedented cooperation. Any species that refuses to participate, any world that chooses isolation, will be left behind when the entropy wave arrives." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we better make sure everyone understands what's at stake." Over the following months, the Meridian Point Research Station became the hub of the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Human volunteers from across known space arrived to train as network interfaces. The architects shared technological secrets they had guarded for millions of years. The Galactic Council mobilized resources on a scale never before attempted. Sarah found herself at the center of it all, the first human to hold the unofficial title of network coordinator. As she worked with beings from dozens of different species, she realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their adaptability or their intuition. It was their ability to find common ground between vastly different perspectives. The first test activation of a restored network pathway was scheduled for exactly 1 year after the artifact's discovery. As Sarah placed her hands on the master key, feeling the harmonized response of dozens of other keys across the galaxy, she smiled at the irony. Humanity had always been told they were primitive, backwards, limited by their biology and their simple technology. But now, As the network hummed to life with pathways of light connecting star systems across impossible distances, it was clear that sometimes the most advanced solution was the most human one. The galaxy would survive the approaching darkness, not because of superior technology or ancient wisdom, but because different species had learned to work together. And at the heart of that cooperation was a very human truth. Sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem is to stop trying to be superhuman and start being genuinely human. As the approaching ships drew closer, Sarah realized that her ability to communicate with the artifact might be the key to preventing a galactic catastrophe. But first, they needed to survive whatever was coming their way. The artifact pulsed once more, and Sarah felt a message that chilled her to the bone. They come to reclaim the keys. Without the network, all will perish when the darkness arrives. The human solution. The three approaching vessels resolved on the station's sensors like mountains of living metal. Each ship was larger than most space stations, their surfaces covered in the same shifting, organic technological patterns as the artifact. As they drew closer, their intent became unmistakably clear. They had come to retrieve what they considered stolen property. "Incoming transmission," announced the station's eye. The main screen filled with an image that defied easy description. The being that appeared was tall and ethereal, with features that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. When it spoke, its voice resonated with the same harmonic patterns as the artifact. "Greetings, trespassers. You have awakened a sacred key without authorization. Return the key to its rightful guardians immediately, or face the consequences of your transgression." Commander Zix's crystalline form shifted through rapid color changes as he processed the threat. "We are researchers operating under Galactic Council authorization. We discovered the artifact in unclaimed space and—" Silence. The being interrupted, its form flickering with displeasure. "We are the architects. We built the network when your species were crawling in primitive mud. The keys belong to us. Return it now." Sarah stepped forward, positioning herself between the communication array and the artifact. "Wait, before you take it, you need to know what we've learned. The artifact showed us something important. Something about a darkness approaching the galaxy." The architect's flowing features paused in their constant motion. "Impossible. The keys respond only to architects. Lesser beings cannot comprehend their messages." "But I did comprehend it," Sarah said firmly. "The artifact communicated with me. It showed me the network, the evacuation routes, and the warning about what's coming." Dr. Keening's feathers rustled nervously as she whispered, "Sarah, what are you doing? You're challenging beings who possess technology beyond our understanding." Sarah ignored the warning and continued addressing the architect. "Why was the network created? What were you preparing to evacuate from?" The architect's form darkened. "Those answers are not for lesser species. Surrender the key, or we will take it by force." Engineer Thok's four arms moved across his console as he analyzed the approaching ships. "Sarah, their weapons systems are powering up. Each vessel carries enough firepower to sterilize this entire system." But Sarah had caught something in the architect's manner, a hesitation when she mentioned the darkness. She took a step closer to the artifact, which immediately began pulsing in response to her proximity. "The network isn't working properly, is it?" she said, watching the architect's reaction carefully. "That's why you abandoned it. Something went wrong with the system, and you couldn't maintain it." The architect's flowing form became rigid. "Return the key." Sarah placed her hand directly on the artifact's surface. Immediately, images flooded her mind. She saw the galaxy as it was millions of years ago, connected by streams of light that allowed instant travel between star systems. She saw the architects at the height of their civilization, masters of space and time. And then she saw what went wrong. The network required constant harmonization. Sarah said, her voice filled with new understanding. Each key had to be maintained by beings who could communicate with it on multiple levels. But your species evolved beyond physical form. You became too advanced to interface with your own technology. The architect's image flickered with what might have been surprise. "How do you know this?" "Because the artifact just showed me," Sarah replied. "And it showed me something else. The darkness you were preparing for. It's still coming. The network needs to be reactivated, but it requires operators who can bridge the gap between organic thought and artificial intelligence." Commander Zix's harmonic voice carried notes of realization. "Humans. Their cognitive patterns are uniquely suited for this type of interface." Sarah nodded. "We're adaptable. We can think both logically and intuitively. We can communicate with machines and understand emotions. That's why the artifact responded to me, not because I'm advanced, but because I'm the right kind of primitive." The artifact's pulsing remained unchanged, but Sarah continued. "I know you might not understand my words, but maybe you can understand my intent. We're explorers, like you might have been. We're curious about the universe and the beings who share it with us." As she spoke, Sarah began walking around the artifact again, but this time she wasn't analyzing it. She was treating it like a conversation partner, letting her voice carry the natural rhythm of human speech, with its pauses, inflections, and emotional undertones. "We've been trying to decode your message using our most advanced technology, but maybe that's not what you need. Maybe you need someone to just listen." Suddenly, the artifact's pulsing changed. The light patterns began to synchronize with Sarah's speech patterns, growing brighter during her words and dimming during her pauses. "Commander," Dr. Keening called out, her feathers blazing bright white with excitement. "The signal patterns are shifting. They're mimicking the human's vocal rhythms." Zix's crystalline form erupted in harmonious tones of amazement. "Incredible. The artifact is learning to match human communication patterns." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she realized what was happening. "It's not just mimicking me. It's trying to teach me its language by using mine as a bridge." She continued speaking, but now she listened more carefully to the artifact's responses. Gradually, she began to notice that certain words triggered specific light patterns. When she said Earth, one section of the spirals would glow. When she mentioned friends, another pattern would activate. "It's building a vocabulary," she whispered in amazement. Over the next several hours, Sarah developed a rudimentary communication system with the artifact. The process was exhausting, requiring her to maintain constant attention to both her own words and the artifact's responses. Her alien colleagues documented everything, their advanced sensors recording patterns that would have been impossible for human eyes to catch alone. Finally, the artifact produced a complex sequence of lights and sounds that Sarah somehow understood meant important message. "It has something crucial to tell us," she announced to the team. The artifact's surface began displaying what could only be described as a star map. Three-dimensional projections of stellar systems appeared in the air around it, with pathways of light connecting distant points. "That's the Andorian Spiral," Fox said, recognizing one constellation. "And there's the Zephyr Nebula. But these connection lines, they're showing hyperspace routes that don't exist." "They do exist," Sarah said, somehow understanding the artifact's message. "They're ancient pathways, created by the artifact's makers. But they've been dormant for millennia." The star map shifted, showing a vast network of connected star systems spanning the entire galaxy. At strategic points throughout the network, other artifacts like this one were positioned as keys or activation nodes. "It's a galactic transportation system," Commander Zix realized, his harmonic voice filled with awe. "With this network, travel between any 2 points in the galaxy would take days instead of years." But the artifact wasn't finished. The projection changed again, this time showing a section of space beyond the galaxy's edge. Something massive was approaching, something that dwarfed entire star systems. "Warning," Sarah translated, feeling the artifact's urgency. "Danger approaches. The network must be activated. The pathways must be opened for evacuation." Dr. Keening's feathers turned deep purple with concern. Evacuation. What could threaten an entire galaxy? Before anyone could speculate further, The station's proximity alarms began blaring. The main view screen activated automatically, showing long-range sensor data. 3 massive objects approaching our position, announced the station's eye. Configuration unknown. Estimated time to arrival: 6 standard hours. Sarah looked at the artifact, which was now pulsing frantically. Somehow she understood that their discovery had been detected. The artifact's original creators were coming to reclaim what was theirs. "We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately," Commander Zix said, his crystalline form shifting to urgent red tones. "And tell them what?" Thok asked, his 4 arms working frantically at his console. "That we found a galaxy-spanning transportation network, and something is coming to take it away from us." Sarah placed her hand near the artifact, not quite touching it, but close enough to feel the warmth it radiated. "There's more to this story. The artifact is trying to tell us something else, something about why the network was created in the first place." As the network stabilized and the first evacuation routes went online, Sarah felt the artifact's final message, a sense of gratitude and hope that transcended species and technology. The entropy wave was still coming, but now the galaxy was ready. The token human had become the key that unlocked not just an ancient network, but the potential for true galactic unity.